can see the effects of the shutdown all over town. It's terrible. President Obama now down to just one teleprompter. At the TSA, they're making passengers fondle and grope themselves. It is so bad, Iran will now be forced to negotiate with Dennis Rodman. That's how bad.
A new Fox News poll shows that disapproval of the Republican Party during the shutdown has jumped to 59%. And that's a Fox News poll. That's like the real news saying it's 3,000%.
This is not Armageddon. This is a pinprick.
Yes, a government shutdown is no more damaging to the economy than a pinprick, okay? For instance, here's the economy, here's the shutdown. See?
Oh my gosh, the government shut down T-ball for late night conduct, a pretty easy one. You know, since we've been talking here, the White House has already responded to Speaker Boehner's interview and the contention that there aren't enough votes in the House to pass a clean CR. The president's senior advisor, Dan Pfeiffer, tweeting to our own Jeff Zeleny, either he is all wrong or all his members are lying. So one more piece of evidence that neither side is prepared to budge just yet. Let me try to ask all of you then what I asked Speaker Boehner just a little bit ago. It does seem like this is going to go on for at least a few more days. If we get up to that deadline on October 17th, we're in the final day. Which side is going to blink? Are there going to be negotiations? Are we going to go into default? Who will get the blame?
Well, I think if we get up to the limit, the Speaker will put on the table probably an extension of the debt limit, raising it for 5-6 weeks, and he'll then probably attach something to it so he can get it through his members, maybe the president's entitlement reforms in his own budget, see if the Senate Democrats will vote for that, try to get this extended, but say, look, Mr. President, we're being reasonable, come back to the table.
But that's at the last minute. There's no time for negotiation.
Well, he may start a couple of days early, but that's, I think, how things are going to go here in the short term. And then we can redo this all again in November.
Actually, I'm in heated agreement with Paul, more or less. I think that's essentially what happens. First of all, I've been doing negotiations for 30 years. They always go to the deadline. We will be here at 8 o'clock on October 17th, I think. And then I think there'll be some short-term extension coupled with a little bit of give on both sides and a serious, an announcement of a serious commitment to have some conversations about the whole budget picture. And then we'll see in 6 weeks what happens.
So that nobody is accused of blinking. And that's what these scenarios lay out, is that people have a face-saving way to move on and not go to default.
But there's no reason to have total confidence in that, George. I agree that's the likely scenario, but there's no reason to think that it's necessarily going to be that way. I mean, I think that the Republicans will try maybe only a 2 or 3 week extension of that ceiling. And I don't know that the Democrats are going to go along with that.
But just to be clear, the president gave an interview to AP over the weekend where he appeared not to rule out some kind of action on his own, citing the 14th Amendment to unilaterally continue to honor America's obligations. But everyone in the White House and the Treasury Department says no, he is out of unilateral.
And Jay Carney has said emphatically no, and he has also said the White House believes that they do not have the power to do that, and they also believe that it would not work. So it'll be an interesting dance if they try to do that. And, George, I mean, here's the thing. They may be able to blame the Speaker on this, but if it brings this recession, if it brings something catastrophic, who was the Speaker of the House in 1929?
Right, exactly.
I mean, Paul knows that it was Longworth, but ultimately the president owns it.
Blame will go everywhere. When you read Pfeiffer's tweet, is he lying or is he just wrong? It's sort of like kind of the problem. Not very mature, right? And it is. It's going to go right to the end. Everyone's going to have to save face so they can, end with this back and forth, and they won't go over into a catastrophic.
I think I agree with all of you, but I'm a little bit more with John. I think the chances of actually tripping over into default are higher than they've ever been before. One other subject before we go. President in that AP interview also weighing in on this whole controversy over what the Washington Redskins should be called. A lot of sports writers no longer use the term. The chairman of the NFL, Roger Goodell, said perhaps the Redskins should take a look at it. Here was the president yesterday. If I were the owner of the team and I knew that there was a name of my team that was offending a sizable group of people, I'd think about changing it. All these mascots and team names related to Native Americans feel pretty strongly about it, and I don't know whether our attachment to a particular name should override the real legitimate concerns. Cook, you're a season ticket holder, right?
I am.
How's the season going?
My big objection is they lose. But look, we wouldn't call a team the Yellow Skins or the Brown Skins. It would be absolutely absolutely unacceptable. And if people who are Native American are offended by it, we should pay attention to that. But basically, they need to start winning.
The way to gauge if it's offensive or not, right, is to walk into a bar full of Native Americans and yell out, "Redskins, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be beaten up near death," right? So it's offensive.
But you know, the owner of the Redskins, his attorney, Lanny Davis, has said that he keeps citing a poll that says 9 out of 10 Native Americans weren't offended by it.
You know, and they poll all Americans and overwhelmingly also not offended. The bottom line is, I think that if you actually did that test and walk into a bar and say that, you would find that people have strong opinions on it. And you can't just say, well, it's been a long time, or listen, it's being shouted with joy and pride. The people who are offended are offended. I think that matters.
I don't think I'm going to take your test, but John.
Yeah, I won't try that either. Look, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I hope they change the name, and I am happy to give a lot of suggestions. But look, if it's, you know, if it's offensive, and it clearly is offensive to a group of people, I mean, you've got to look at changing the name.
Do you think, you know, so many people weighing in, Steve Ratner, but, you know, Dan Snyder, the owner of the Redskins, pretty much holding firm, even though he's getting all kinds.
Never.
Of
He said never.
Well,
Money.
Dan Snyder's a very tough guy, but it might be a little bit like John Boehner. You hang tough until you can't anymore. You know, there's the name that's available that crossed my mind is the old baseball name, the Washington Senators, but that might be even more.
That's offensive.
Those are real fighting words.
That's much worse.
It would be one thing to change it from Redskins. You'd offend a lot of people, paying customers just by that, but then to name it after politicians. I mean, they boo politicians when they throw out the first pitch, and deservedly so. So, and as for the president weighing in, I mean, obviously people want to know what he'll say, but I would say that right now he's got a day job he should pay attention to, where he's not really managing it all.
Probably not, but he's asked the question. He has to answer.
Yeah, well, you know, thanks for the advice, sir. How about your own problem?
Picking up on Steve's, I think the bigger problem these days might be the name Washington in front of it.
Yes.
You
can change that, too.
Right now, that's not going to change anytime soon. Thank you all for a great conversation today. We're going to come back in a minute with the mayor of the internet, Reddit's Alexis Ohanian, in our Sunday Spotlight.